Chai After Dark includes adult language and NSFW content. Sounds like WWF. If you have uncle sensibilities, this podcast is not for you. Hey party people, it's Captain Ron back at ya with a new episode of Chai After Dark. In this episode, we revisit Indian Matchmaking Season 1, Episode 7. Oh boy, and we are getting close to the finale and our special guest interview. Watch your feeds with that drop. It was really fun conversation with a little bit of the behind-the-scenes tidbits. This episode's title from Indian Matchmaking is Marriages Are Breaking Like Biscuits. Seema Auntie faces a challenge with single mother Rupam. A discovery about her match bothers Ankita. Vyasar frets over revealing his father's past to Rashi. And one more housekeeping note is that my mic will sound a little different because my stupid ass forgot to switch over to my professional mic like this one. And it was recording off of my camera mic. So we tried to do some editing in the background, so hopefully it's not noticeable. But if it is, now you know why. Without further ado, let's go.
Welcome to a new edition of Chai After Dark. Sakriya Sal and salams and hello.
Oh, we're gonna get into Punjabi-ness today, but holy crap.
I'm gonna
you just butchered that. I mean, I butcher a whole lot. Shabna was just asking, I think Sameem is a little bit more desi than us.
I felt not that desi in our last
but listening to him right
recording.
now, I butcher words, but damn.
Hello.
Butchered. Bury it.
Sakriya Sal.
It's done.
No,
Stick a fork in it.
Satsriyakal. That's
You
what
can't
it
say
is,
it
right,
either.
Imran? No, it's Satsriyakal. Right, Imran?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shabnam did it better than Shabnam on
Sakriya
this
Sal.
show did it better than the Shabnam on Indian Matchmaking.
Okay. You know
You like
what?
that? You like
Actually,
that? You like
I
that?
like
How I put that
that.
in there?
I like that. But I used to think it was Sasriyakal, like mother-in-law. Sasriyakal.
Sauce.
Yeah. Well,
Riyakan.
yeah. But then when I saw it written, I was like, oh, it's Satsriyakal.
Satsriyakal.
You know what that reminds me of is Sameem in the earlier episodes. Sameem would say sus, like
Yeah.
suspect.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
it
my,
should be like,
No, but
that's
that's
sus.
my mother-in-law.
That's sauce versus
Yeah.
sauce. You
No,
know,
but sus is Punjabi for
Yeah.
mother-in-law, and sauce is like that's how I heard it growing up. Like,
Don't act like you know Sameem. He's like, yo.
Dude,
Yo, that's
I've
why
had
I said
multiple-
it.
no, he's
dude.
Punjabi.
I've had more susses than you have, so
That's sus. Well, how's
All of
everybody doing?
Good.
Okay,
I
cool.
went. Should I tell my story?
No, I was
or-
just laughing at Sameem.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, yes.
I went to the A's game yesterday. It was A's versus the Yankees.
How many people were
and-
there? Like 10?
No, there was a lot of people. It was because it's one of the last games in the Oakland Coliseum. There's only like a few more games at the Oakland Coliseum after this. And then they're like moving to Sacramento for a few years. And then they're supposed to be moving to Vegas, but only if they have enough money and they don't have that financing yet or whatever. So it's kind of crazy, but there was all kinds of tailgating. There was like huge crowds at the game. The wave kept going around and around the Coliseum. We did like 10 waves or something. But
That's how
Oakland's-
exciting A's games
let's
are.
do the wave.
we don't have to watch for like how
Yeah.
many runs there are. So we were just doing the wave because the score was 10-0 Yankees.
Oh, wow.
So,
So you guys are just entertaining yourselves
yeah,
versus the
basically.
product on the field. That's how
Yeah.
good days.
Yeah.
You do look a little
Yeah.
hungover, so yeah, out in the sun
Oh yeah, you know me. I was just like partying it up yesterday.
with all the.
Did you get any good cheap A's attire?
No, I have one A's jersey, but it was kind of cold, so I didn't wear it. I wore like warmer stuff.
Did you take the
So-
BART there?
BART stands for the Bay Area Rapid Transit System.
No, we drove.
You drove.
We drove, and it took us an hour and like 15 minutes to get from the exit into the parking lot because it was
Really?
such insanity. Yeah, it was such a waste of time. We were trying to meet friends there to tailgate, and we like didn't barely get to tailgate.
You gotta
because,
tailgate at a football game, right?
Yeah.
You have or you haven't?
No, I haven't.
Well, so I was looking around the parking lot. I was telling Brian, I was like, I don't think Desi families tailgate. I was like, I don't see any kind of Desi families here at all.
They
Couldn't
left a
see any.
picnic. They just need to add picnic to tailgating. That's all.
I mean, I've done like bun kebab at Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk with my relatives before when they were visiting, but never tailgated at a sports event with Desi people.
They're probably tailgating at the World Cup cricket match.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
probably. You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if they did. They probably did
Yeah.
with their pani puris and stuff.
Yeah, there's probably hella pani puri carts and
How
stuff
do you
out
eat
there.
pani puri, by the way, at a tailgate? Because you gotta like make a little hole.
You just stick the whole thing in your mouth.
All right.
So we would know a lot about that.
I'm talking about pani puri, not
Oh yeah.
Not bleep puri.
This is not an episode. This is not
Censoring yourself.
This is not an episode about Diddy's parties, okay?
Yeah, no Diddy, dude.
Which, by the way, I started reading that indictment. It's like, I don't know. I was going down a rabbit hole this morning, and then I took myself out of it because I was like, this is disgusting. I need to.
So all the memes coming out so far, not some memes, but regular memes.
I'm not part of the Diddy stuff. Don't loop me into that.
So there's the current ones that people are sharing are like the oil stuff, the massage oils, or there's like baby oil or 1,000 bottles of them.
Oh no,
did
there
you
was
get there yet?
1,000 vials of lube. Apparently, is what it was.
Gross. That's gross.
All
I mean,
So that
I don't
is
know.
true. That part is true. That is in the indictment. People aren't just making.
I guess he's trying to get a deal, buying in bulk or something. Maybe he likes
Import,
he likes some
export lube.
coupons. I don't know.
You think these parties were like continuous? Because why would you plan that far in advance? Especially someone that has like the whole world at their fingertips. It's like to dwindle down and think about baby oil at that level. Like, I don't even know how your brain gets there. Like, I would never think about 1,000 bottles of baby oil if I had $1 billion. Like, why would I ever think about that?
I don't think it's him. I think it's like he probably has made like lists for his like staff and his personal assistant,
planning.
like have this much on hand of this and this and this, because like you never know when he's gonna freaking need to have Usher and Justin Bieber have a party with him.
He was on Conan in like 2002, and Conan was asking
which
him,
who
P Diddy, did he do it? I don't know.
Pity. It's a pity.
Now he's just pity.
Yeah. Jail Diddy, prison Diddy. He was on
Pity the diddler.
The diddler. He was on Conan, and Conan asks him what makes a good party, and he literally says, "Turn up the heat, lock the doors so nobody can get out." He like admitted it in 2002, and Conan was literally like, "That sounds disgusting."
Yeah, it's crazy the stuff that he said publicly and that have been in other people's songs, basically like saying it out in the open, and like everyone's just like dancing to the song. Like, whoa, dude! Like they're talking about like
because he had normal
like,
parties
abuse and
too,
crime
right?
in here.
So he had like his, parties that started before 6 p.m. or whatever, like the white parties, his yachts and stuff. So I think he had some vanilla stuff too. So a lot of people made references to that.
Vanilla lube stuff.
I don't know. What do you prefer?
On that note,
just to think about all the lube. Maybe he was in this lucrative lube market. He knows something that
he's
we
a
don't
lube
know.
reseller.
He's becoming a reseller. He's an Amazon marketplace reseller selling lube, and that's probably where his billions of dollars is coming from. Not
That
from
was his
music.
side hustle. That was his side hustle.
Side hustle became a main hustle.
Wow.
I think that's what set off the DOJ and the FBI and whoever else is investigating him, because they're like, yo, this is like insider trading. We can't have that. I don't know. Sounds like it. Hey, my story's handyman Captain Ron is back at it again. I fixed the towel rings and then the toilet sheet holder that's also attached to the wall. Those
Toilet
things
paper
both
holder?
came
Toilet
off.
sheet. The toilet sheet.
Toilet sheet, the toilet paper, toilet.
Yeah. Dude, those
Toilet.
seem like
Yeah, what
easy
was up?
fixes for like,
Well, you've
Mr.
been fixing
When you come
Handyman
into
fix
a-
it.
You've been fixing all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was complicated how the screw came off and the screws inside the wall and figuring all that jazz. But it turns out there's a little screw here and there. And I finally found it on both devices attached to the wall. And I was able to screw it back in and put them back together. So
Nice.
yeah, tightened it up, fixed the toilet sheet holder. It's not very exciting, but I did it.
Toilet
How's
paper
that?
holder.
That's what do you call it? The toilet roll holder?
It's
What
not
is
a
it?
toilet
Yeah,
sheet
toilet
holder.
paper holder.
Yeah, toilet paper holder. Okay. Don't look at me like
There's some
that.
riveting ass shit for our listeners. Wow. Every week.
Look,
Some
I'm coming
riveting
at
ass
you with all
sheet.
the capacity. All right, let's get to it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode
You didn't
of
ask.
Chat.
You didn't ask Samim about
Fuck
his
him.
stories.
Tell me what you do this weekend.
Oh man, it's been a pretty busy weekend actually. I was at Huma's house last
I don't
night.
care.
Huma, he doesn't.
You were at whose
Huma,
house?
he doesn't care.
Oh, Huma's house.
Huma's listening. He doesn't care.
He's just having
Okay.
FOMO. He's like, "Oh, you were at Huma's house without
TFTI.
me." That's what I feel
No.
like.
Hey, did you guys watch Indian
Um,
Matchmaking episode 7?
We did.
Oh my! Welcome to a new episode of Chai After Dark. We're like second to the last episode of season 1, Indian Matchmaking from Netflix. We are covering today episode 7. It is titled "Marriages Are Breaking Like Biscuits," which
That's
is
right.
dialogue that Seamarty mentions later on in the episode. And it opens up with Shabnam
Woohoo!
and Sanjeev. Wow. Shabnam, look at that. And Shabnam, like most of these intro auntie and uncle segments that they have in front of Indian Matchmaking episodes that we've been seeing, the wife is usually the majority of the talker here. The husbands, the uncles, are usually pretty silent for the most part. Although Sanjeev does talk a little bit, but Shabnam, you do talk a lot, don't you?
Yeah, me and my auntie alter ego, who's like 30 years older than me and married to Sanjeev. Yeah, we both talk a lot.
You know, she's a hypnotherapist. You know, I
Yeah.
just do whatever she says.
It's the
tells me to
same
do.
theme with every couple that they open with. The husband is just laughing, happy wife, happy life. It's the same theme. And it's crazy that, is that all it really takes? Just to like chill out and be like, wife.
I mean, they're obviously showing this couple here. Shabnam says that she's opposites of Sanjeev. And then he finally said some words, right? He says, "Oh no, you compliment me. We're opposites, so you compliment me." And she immediately says, No, you don't compliment."
Yeah. She's like, we just see the good in each other.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
like, it's not complimentary, but I just accept that there's some good in you. It was really weird.
And she's like, I didn't know who
and then
you
he
were.
immediately shut up.
She's like, I didn't know who you were when we got married. I thought I was marrying someone else, and I'm glad you're not that person because you ended up being way better. So I thought that was pretty cute.
But after the meeting of the auntie and uncle, we head over to Denver as a new player has
character.
entered the Indian matchmaking game. We meet Rupam, a divorcee, moved out there when she was 3 with her dad and family and so on. She's 36 years old. She's Sikh Punjabi. And here we go.
She's cooking with her dad.
Yeah.
And her dad is like, has a lot of opinions about cooking and life, we find out.
That was an interesting scene because she
Yeah.
says, my parents here, but the mom's not there. But of course, there's always a lot left out because we can only see what's happening on the show. But the dad is like, get out of the kitchen. I'm cooking. He's like, if I need you,
Yeah.
I'll call you. And he like takes
Yeah.
like this oil, and I saw him pour it in. He pours like a
Yeah.
half thing of canola oil into this pot. And I'm like, what are you
Yeah.
making? Dude, like, what could you possibly need that much oil? Unless you're
He's
deep
deep
frying.
frying.
But I don't think he was deep frying. I
Yeah.
think he was making like biryani or something. And she was cool. I liked her.
We get a background of Rupam and her homemade videos, you know, VHS tapes and all that stuff. She was previously married. It was a love marriage, 8 years, and they do have a child.
He was Sikh and she met him at Sikh camp. Or
I
Sikh-
didn't know Sikh camps existed,
Yeah.
but I do know there's Muslim camps, there's Jewish camps. I bet
Yeah.
there's Christian camps. So I would not actually, like, as surprised as I am, I'm not surprised at the same time.
Yeah.
I was
See
just
who
telling
is that?
Sophie about Muslim Family Camp yesterday, how I used to do the campfire. Wait, Shabnam, we didn't know each other back then. Did you ever see me do the campfire if you came?
No, I mean,
Yeah.
probably, but like because you're like a little bit older than me, when we were a kid, I was just like, okay, there's those like the older
Yeah.
boys doing that stuff,
You
you
hear
know.
that,
So you were
Imran?
just
You were,
Hear that?
the
there.
older boys were in charge of the
Yeah.
campfire.
I did a Muslim
Yeah.
campfire at a Muslim family camp for like 15 years running until I was like, I don't even know, like 23 or something, maybe.
15 years
Yeah.
you were doing that?
I was pretty
I
bad at
probably
it.
went to 1 year of Muslim camp down here in like SoCal, I think once.
Yeah.
That was it. But we get the background. It's cool and all. Like we get it. I feel like we got a quicker background of her a little bit more than other characters on the show, because maybe because of the home videos that she has an archive of things that she shared with the Indian matchmaking team. And this is where she meets Seema Auntie, and they're going over what she wants and what happened in her life. And she
Mhm.
does mention the title of the episode. In India, marriages are breaking like biscuits. Like, it's so
Yeah.
delicate.
But she says that after she asks Rupam, like, how long was she married and what happened? And Rupam says the marriage lasted like officially for 8 years, and that the breaking point was that he cheated on her. And then Simanti says that the marriages were breaking like biscuits. So
But she
I felt
specifically said in India, which I appreciated her saying in India. So she's not like, because she doesn't know the
Yeah.
US version of it, right? It could be associated here, but her being from India, like, yeah, you speak to India, don't speak to the US culture in that regard.
Yeah, and what you just said makes me think maybe she was saying it like, oh, you know, this is happens
common
to
too.
a lot of people. Like maybe she was trying to be comforting, but I was like, that's a weird thing to say to someone that just said their husband was like
Cheating
like
on
there was
them.
yeah, to be like, oh, you know, people just are shitty at marriage these days. It's like, no, I think she did try. Like it seems like she tried, right? So I don't know. That was like
Seema
weird.
Auntie has a little bit of dialogue throughout this episode that kind of borderline cringe to me.
Yeah.
As far as what she's trying to comfort people.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh man, this is like, even though she's speaking English, it is more of like
it's just like a tone translation and stuff.
the tone and language translation of like Indian English, and the phrases they say to comfort is like annoying and cringe out here, you know, in the way we take it. And she says a couple of things throughout, and I'm like, oh,
like what? Like,
okay, I know what you're doing. You're kind, but I wrote it down here. We'll talk about that.
But then Rupam also says she's like, she didn't realize how hard it would be to find a new person and how much stigma there would be around being a single mom, you know, before she left her husband. And that kind of made me sad because you see in her face, she's sort of like beat down. And it makes it seem like if she'd known, maybe she would have stayed in the bad marriage, which is like really sad. It's pretty crazy. And she talks about how divorce is not common in the Sikh community. And then Simanti's like, I normally don't take divorced clients with kids because there's too much stigma. And Simanti like can't find them a match. But I guess because of the show, she took Rupam.
And to answer your question, Samina, like what she says is in that segment right there, where she's talking to her about the stigma of, I don't usually take clients. The way Seema Auntie started it off, she's like, don't mind me saying this. Like, dude, I am going to mind. You're going to talk about how shitty it is to find a divorcee, another husband or a wife or whatever. Like, you're putting me down already.
Yeah, right? Like then Rupam knows, okay, I'm about to get stabbed in the heart.
Yeah.
Seema Auntie's, she seemed pretty put off by trying to find someone who's divorced partner. Yeah. I agree with you. She seemed like, I don't know if it was like an air of superiority or an ego kind of thing, but she was just kind of like, yeah, I'll try. I'm on TV. Who cares? And that's all she really seemed to think of.
The variety of people, right? So you're going through there's like 2 or 3 people that are divorced, independent ones. We have mama boys ones. So it's like a variety of characters on this show. I don't mind it. I just didn't like where she's like, don't mind this. I'm like, come on, dude. Like, this is how you break bad news.
Yeah. But it is true, right? Like, we can say that it shouldn't be the case, but it's not just Disney culture.
And it's true in every,
culture. Like, come on, guys aren't like, I'd be super okay with it, to be honest. If I met a single mom at this age, like I most likely, I think that's what it's going to be for me. So but I don't have any like qualms against it. I don't even think why I would, unless this kid was trying to stab me in the ass or something. Like then I'd be pretty fucking pissed off. But like if it's
Ha-
like some punk ass kid, but if it's like some chill kid, I would be cool with it.
I don't know why the picture just ran across my face.
It's because we
somebody
were talking
stabbing
about
you in the
Diddy in the
ass.
beginning.
God. No Diddy,
Yeah,
please.
Diddy.
No, but Rupam says that she wants someone caring, affectionate, trustworthy, a good person, ideally professional, ideally same religion, or at least Punjabi, like Hindu Punjabi. I was like, she's quite realistic, and she's not like, I want them to go mountain climbing like me, and she doesn't have like
The
these dumb
Bolivian
little
salt
things
flats.
like, yeah, Bolivian salt flats. She doesn't have those
Yeah.
little things like that. She's like, look, I just want someone that's nice. you
I'm
know?
rooting for her. Like it's rare that we root for someone on this show because we talk about Vyasar and he's in this episode as well, which is the cliffhanger from the last episode. But it's been pretty hard to find characters that were like sympathetic towards, and I was very sympathetic towards her because she seemed like a pretty good person, and I don't think she did anything wrong.
What if her and Vyasar?
I know that's the first thing I thought about. I was like, these two seem like a really good match, but we don't know.
Yeah.
But he's not Punjabi, right?
He's Hindu, right?
Yeah, but he's not Punjabi. She said only Hindu would be okay if he's Punjabi.
Yeah.
This is a good point of clarification moment, and to our non-Desi, non-Indian or South Asian listeners out there, oftentimes we will hear about like, oh, are you Punjabi, as a part of mixing with Punjabi and saying, no, Punjab is a region in India and Pakistan. They share a state. They're at the border, and it's the people of that state.
Yeah.
The Punjabis. Do they wear turbans? Some of them do. Those are the Sikhs. Some of them don't. There's Punjabi Muslims, Punjabi Hindus, Punjabi Sikhs as well. So just a clarification, Punjabi is the state, and the people that live within the state or come from that state. Sikh is a religion.
Yeah. Okay, Imran. Imran Steve's over here, world traveler.
I'm half Punjabi, so, just represent.
Yeah. And then... And then she says she has a lot of love to give and wants to give it to someone.
Oh,
and I was like, get it, girl.
Man, I'm going to get back out there.
Well, we go back to India and we meet not our boy, Akshay, having
not
lunch.
our boy.
It's only reserved for one of our characters on the show. But Akshay is having lunch with Mansha, his cousin. She seems a little more stylish than he does. That's
she
cool
had an
enough.
interesting t-shirt, or I don't even know what to Shabnam. What do you call that?
Tube top. It was like a tube
But it
top.
had, like-
It was like a tube top with sock sleeves. Yeah. I think that was like a style for a moment, probably like right before COVID, which is probably like when this was shot, right?
Yeah.
But she doesn't have a Preeti Auntie archetype as her mom. Definitely not.
No.
Oh, no.
And then-
Showing off her shoulders.
Yeah.
She's
then-
roasting.
and then she's like-
roasting Preeti Auntie. You roast her.
She's
even in the last
hardcore.
episode.
She keeps rubbing it into him that like, his mom is controlling.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, Mansha's the worst.
Yeah.
She's like the worst friend ever.
He's his first cousin, so I'm assuming Preeti Auntie's her aunt, who she's roasting
Yeah.
on this Netflix show seen around the world. So I was like,
Yeah.
What better person to do it? I mean, it gives us
Yeah.
everything that we wanted to say. She's saying it for us.
yeah, but it makes her
Yeah.
look super negative, and now I'm like, is Preeti Auntie that bad? And she is, because we're going to get to it.
Are we the problem?
Are we the problem, or is it Preeti Auntie? Because recurring theme has been. Never mind. I'm still pretty mad because we're going to get to it in a later episode. In the later
All this PTSD.
PTSD.
All right. So, well, he just sounds so
Oh,
disinterested.
PTSD. I like it. I think we have some PTSD.
That is a good one.
Imagine-
should make a
Yeah.
t-shirt.
We keep watching this. We
Steve.
keep watching these episodes, and like in a few weeks, we're just like Akshay staring at each other on the mics. Hello.
Can you imagine having an interview? Like if we booked him for an interview, can you imagine that interview going
I think he
on?
would just leave. I think he'd leave in the middle of the interview, and he'd be like, "No, I'm not doing this anymore." He didn't even want to
just
talk.
be like, oh, so what do you do for a living?
Yeah.
Like could be very high level conversation. That
Yeah.
person you meet at a party that you just don't want to even talk to. They just have no conversational skills whatsoever.
It's pretty
Yeah.
apparent. And then his cousin is like, "So, show me the picture of the chick." And she's calling his arranged marriage match. He's like, "Show
Match meeting.
me the chicks." And so
The girl from Udaipur. She's tall, pretty, and a chartered accountant.
So yeah, he finally admits that he is actually going to meet a girl. And so that's when you guys are talking about like Munch, like, show me the freaking picture already.
And
They
she
finally
was
come back.
hella crazy about that. She's like, yes, gritting her teeth. I was like, dude, calm down. In a weird way, Mancha wants him to get married like just as much as Preeti.
It's like a recurring theme, right? We had Khushbu, and then we had Akshay's brother, and then we have like even Vyasar's like cousin in Texas. Like, well, that guy wasn't like pushing him, but these other people like Khushbu and stuff, they're like, you just got to get married. But I don't think the cousin's pushing him to get married. I feel like she's teasing him, and she's like, haha, you have to go through all this because I don't.
Yeah.
So he's actually meeting this girl from Udaipur. He says he's looking for an intellectual connection. And his mom, Preeti Auntie, and dad like her enough to go meet with them. And Mancha's pretty much asking the questions that we have. Then we head out to Delhi to our clothing entrepreneur, Ankita, who is in no rush on the marriage thing and is going with the flow like Bruce Lee and water. But there is a what the hell moment during this scene. So what's that what the hell moment?
So she liked Jitid when she met him, and her best friend then Googled him and discovered that he's a divorcee. And she's like, what the hell? She discovered
What?
He said, what's the what the hell moment? That was it.
I'm talking more about
And
the
then
cultural accent.
The accent.
How dare you?
Shabnam is our voice actor.
I don't know, when I hear people say things, I just like to repeat it. I think it's like some
Shabnam
kind
could
of
have been the original Hank Azaria from The Simpsons.
Yeah, you could have been Apu.
I do it with my mom too. It's not a disrespect thing. Like,
Should
I
we
do
get
it with my
canceled?
mom,
Should we
too.
have Shabnam doing a Pooh accent right now?
No, I
we
have to
canceled
hear
'cause
it.
she is.
I have to like hear it recently, then I can do it. Otherwise, I can't. Like, and I haven't heard a poo.
Don't do it to me. Don't do it to
You
me.
can see my face,
Don't
dude. I'm
do it.
really trying hard not to do it. I'm not gonna do. Hey,
No,
I'm not a white guy named Hank Azaria, so I can't do it because it's better if he does it.
Yeah,
It's not better if a brown guy does it.
So basically, the reason why she says that is because she's upset that Geeta didn't disclose that up front. She feels more violated by Geeta than Chitij because Geeta should have told Seema. Which okay, what do you guys think of this? I agree because
100%,
I think in a bio data, that's usually there. And so it feels like they're manipulating, trying to put her in a situation where she didn't get like the normal information you would get in this situation. So that was weird. I didn't like that.
Now, we don't know how Geeta really operates, right? Versus like Seema, we see the bio data, the likes and dislikes and all the highlighted stuff and whatnot. But I think maybe Shitich had that, but it didn't have it in there for sure. 100% I agree with y'all. It should have been upfront, especially on the bio data. It's on everybody else's.
Also, he could have told her. He literally was like, I was in a relationship until 2018, then I started my company. But he didn't say he was divorced. He's like, it just ended really badly. He did say that in the previous episode.
Yeah.
Shit.
She already has distrust of Geeta, right? And so I feel like also it was like a thing where she was like, I don't want anything to do with anyone coming from Geeta anymore. Because even in that little flashback they showed in the beginning, which Imran, you referenced, where she was like, Geeta's like, you're waiting to meet a guy and then to be the flow, but you need to be the flow now. And then she's like, I'll flow like water, right? And it's like, Geeta was putting so much freaking pressure on her and then doesn't even disclose things fully. I don't like Geeta.
Geeta has some red flags on her.
She's not in the episode anymore either, so I feel like she gets dumped.
Yeah, just in that flashback.
They cut her ass out because of this.
Nobody worried about Geeta. She was...
Or she didn't get stabbed in the butt?
Maybe she did. I don't know.
Joke. That was a really quick segment right there. And we're back to Akshay, and we finally head off to Udaipur. So his family actually flies to Udaipur, and they meet Radhika right before Preeti Auntie is all talking to her husband and Akshay, and they're all conversing, like, what's it going to be like? It's funny to see Preeti Auntie in this moment because she's acting all patient and nice. We know what she's like at home, and she's putting up that first face. Forget about Akshay, because he has the same dumb stare throughout all the episodes. But Preeti Auntie, on the other hand, she's more like a contestant where she's putting up a face on a first date type of situation.
She was like, Akshay, you need to be polite. I'm like, really? No, he was going to... Akshay, the guy that doesn't talk, was going to come in hot and be rude. Like, she just had to say something. Also, I know we always look up hotel prices in the cities that some of these characters are from. So this city has like a Taj Mahal palace that's like $1,200 a night.
Damn.
$1,200
This
a night.
place? That's crazy. But this place was
Yeah,
beautiful. Wherever
yeah.
maybe they were having lunch in that hotel because this place was super beautiful, white Mughal
That's it. I
architecture.
think it's
It
the
looked
same
amazing.
hotel. If you guys look it up, it's not
Yeah.
$28 a night like the Four Seasons in
Jalgaon.
Jalgaon.
Yeah. This
Poor
is
Jalgaon.
Preeti Auntie, you could see from that trunk full of Xavier, she's going to a $1,200 a night place to court this girl.
Yeah,
she
as a
wants to
reminder
make
to
Akshi's wife.
everybody, Preeti Auntie was the lady that didn't have a daughter-in-law, didn't have a son that even wanted to get married, but she had trunks filled with Xavier, and Xavier is gold
Jewelry.
and like
Yeah,
clothes and
jewelry, but
all
usually
kinds
gold.
of stuff.
Yeah.
Preeti Auntie is that one girl that looks like she pretending to always be in her wedding dress when she was a little girl, and as a teenager, she never grew out of that phase of playing dress up and like, I imagine my wedding to be like this. I imagine my wedding to be like this. And she's like transferring all of that over. Like,
Yeah.
this is how she played dress up with her son. Like, this is how my
Yeah.
son's marriage is going to be. This is what I want. Like, she's obviously projecting all of her
Yeah.
feelings and dreams.
And then Radhika's
Yeah.
family, her parents come in and walk in, and it gets so awkward. Like, wow.
Well, and then Radhika greets Akshay's parents in a very traditional, respectful way where she's like bending down, like touch their feet, right?
Yeah, and he's like,
Yeah,
Jitaro,
sure.
Jitaro, like, get up,
Yeah, and
please.
they
very
touch the top of her
pleasantries.
head.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she like doesn't even like barely looks in Akshay's
Well,
direction.
how can she? They're not
Like-
married. They can't be looking at each other.
Yeah, lower your gaze. Come on.
I don't know.
G-A-Z-E,
I was just like,
everybody.
no.
G-A-Z.
I did notice that she kind of like skirted around him to sit down. Like, I mean, it's nervous eye contact type of
Yeah.
situation. Like, do I want to give eye contact or not? But he goes on, he was like, I couldn't keep my eyes off of her. She's pretty. And
Ew.
She looked
So-
better than her pictures.
yeah, looking better than your pictures. I was like, okay, cool, man.
I thought then the
Uh,
parents started arguing because then
Yeah, that was the best.
I can't really explain what happened because I don't know.
Between Preeti Auntie and her husband.
Yeah.
Before the family walks in, Preeti Auntie tells her husband, don't make me the one to always ask the questions. You better ask questions too. And then Akshay's dad was like, no, I'll definitely ask questions. And then she's like, because yeah, Akshay's not going to talk. And then they all kind of laugh. Like she's just getting all like weird and stressed out. And then the first thing they show us that Akshay's dad says is like, your soon to be mother-in-law, she's really strict. I'm the laid back one.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
And
yeah.
then, yeah, you could tell in her face, she gets like pissed. And then she's like, no, Akshay, I let him do stuff. He doesn't
Oh my
mind.
God.
He takes care of me. And then she goes, he's like a baby still. And then everybody laughs and Akshay looks like pissed. And I'm like, dude, you just like shat on him in front of this like, girl you want him to marry. Like, I don't know.
This is when all the laundry comes out immediately, when they all start making fun of each other.
Yeah.
And I guess parents and her are just quietly sitting and laughing. I think it's like nervous laughter. I was like, are they roasting each other right
Yeah.
now? The husband's roasting Preeti Auntie's roasting Akshay. Akshay's like, no, mom, what the hell's going on here? Like, I was feeling awkward to be in that position. But also, you got to notice the editing process, right?
Yeah.
So we go back to like episode 1 and throughout the editing process of the B-roll blank stare. And that's very prominent through this scene of
Yeah.
like, all right, which awkward stare? We know there's an awkward conversation going on. What's the awkward stare that we need to get from Akshay or Preeti Auntie looking at her? It was kind of like gold at the
Yeah.
end when they cut away from this scene, but like her dad or his dad making a joke about Preeti Auntie, and she
Yeah.
just looks kind of like nervous anger
That's
Yeah.
nice.
over her husband making fun of her. I was
Yeah.
like, yes, this is gold.
That's right.
Preeti Auntie, like, oh, horoscopes matching.
Oh, that's
Preeti Auntie gets aggressive. She's like, so if we're going to move forward, how are we going to move forward? And then Akshay's dad says, well, it depends on like the boy and the girl. We're just bystanders. And everybody laughs. And then they go like, but if you say yes, we'll say yes to Radhika's parents.
Yeah, they all said, yes, we like the girl. At least the parents do. That type of situation. Shall we move forward? And so we head over back to our boy, Yasser.
he was the
wait,
cliffhanger
what?
from the last episode.
Yeah, what was the cliffhanger?
He starts to talk about his dad, that his dad's in prison because of something that happened with his ex-wife. And then now he starts talking about it. But the scene opens up with him saying, firm, hard, and soft cheeses. And I was like,
Woo!
where is this go? Where?
Hello.
Where is this going?
Our boy Vyasar likes that cheese.
But he's having like a get together with his friends in Austin, right? Who were literally just there so that there was somebody that he could be talking to. They said like
Call your
negative
3
one
best friends.
words. Yeah.
You know what I like about this podcast is also talking to people within the industry or have had some sort of experience within the industry. And so if you look at our previous episode, if you haven't listened yet, go back and listen to the Capiche episode where he was on Welcome to Platteville as a guest. But he gave us some insight onto that. And I feel like these situations, we learn that they're put in these moments. Hey, you want to come over? Like, for example, Capiche was like, his buddy said, hey, you want to come over? We're filming something. I think Vyasar, the producer said, hey, let's get your friends here. Let's talk about something real. Let's get this out in the open and let's get their reactions if they don't even know about it. Definitely plays into the role of storytelling. Because do you really act like that with your friends? And like, hey, everybody gather around the table.
Yeah,
And I'm going to tell you
No.
a story about my dad
Yeah.
being a murderer or attempted murder.
Yeah.
And his friends like laugh. They're like, "Oh, I didn't know that." And Vyasar was like, "I thought I told you," but
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like all awkward.
so the story is, his parents were already trending towards a divorce when he was born. They finalized their divorce when he's 7 years old. The dad gets remarried and then remarried again, but I think this is the third wife or the second wife. I couldn't
Yeah,
really
that's
tell.
right.
So
It was a
the
third,
third
wife, I
wife.
think.
they're having a terrible argument on the phone because he's about to get divorced again. And he straight up says, "I'm going to kill you," over the phone. She hangs up. She calls the cops. They came and take him and put him in jail just for that threat. So I think he's like stewing. He tries to get a hitman from prison to go murder his wife before their divorce. That hitman went straight to the police department. So he ended up getting 10 years for conspiracy to commit murder. But he's out of prison now because this is when Vyasar was a child. So he tells that story to their friends, and the friends they just smile, they're like, "Oh, we're on TV. Okay, cool." And that's it. There was nothing else to it. They probably talked more, but there was nothing else beyond that. Then the scene cuts back out.
Yeah, and then Vyasar says that, his dad's run-ins with the police were not new. Like he had them with Vyasar's mom too. Like they called the cops on each other all the time. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems like he's got a lot of issues.
I mean, his issues are
Some baggage.
we can get into it more, but maybe there's some correlation between a very overbearing and angry dad that's not around, so he ends up being a little bit more like his mom. He likes to cook, he likes to clean. I shouldn't actually say that.
Course correct. He's
Everybody likes
he's overcorrecting, you
Yeah.
could say. Like he's trying to be the jolly good son, but also caring, and the way he acts in his personality, extrovert and welcoming, all the
Yeah.
stuff that we associate as our boy. Like that's our boy Vyasar because he's such good natured.
And you hear him say that because he says at one point that when he would get mad as a kid, he said his mom would say, "You remind me of your father," and that was a very scary thing for him to hear. So I think you guys are totally right. He's really overcorrecting. And then he brings up the how do you tell Desi people about this? They freak out over the littlest things. And he's he says respectability for his family's gone out the window. He's got divorced family, father in prison.
Plus, he's like, "I work in
And-
a public sphere, so I don't get paid that much."
Public education, mom's
Yeah.
from public education. He's in public education. Not a very good bio data for Desi
But we talked
families.
about this on the previous episodes.
Yeah.
I can't understand why. I don't even see any red flags. Like if I met somebody, what their dad did has no bearing on what you are, right? Like especially if it's when you were a child and it didn't involve you, right? And obviously he hasn't moved on. That's something hard that you can't ever move on from. But I don't see any red flags, and that's why when Seemanti and Imran, you already brought this up, it's cringy when she kept saying divorce this, divorce that. The whole episode's about divorce, obviously, because the next scene is complaining to Seemanti about not telling her that Shitage was divorced. Sorry.
But
you guys making fun of me and my pronunciation of shitage.
Just last week's episode, shitage and lumpage, those two words.
I cut lumpage out.
Oh, man.
But it's in the blooper
Okay,
reel.
well, it's on this
but-
episode then, so.
Yeah. But this is why Desi people don't talk about anything because this whole concept of like that a bio data is realistic, and it's not realistic because you're trying to compare traumas. Like, is Vyasar, who's actually talking about it and trying to be a better person, in a better psychological state, or is it Akshay who's constantly traumatized, like Samim says, kidnappy, and in this situation where I feel like he has zero emotional maturity? But Akshay's biodata is a glowing biodata, and Vyasar's is like, as biodatas go, like a shitty biodata. But I don't think that as people that matches up. And there's like so many assumptions in the way they see people think about biodatas and arranged marriage and stuff.
Yeah, we're about to find out some biodata triggered somebody in this next scene, I think.
We head over back to Ankita in Delhi, the clothing designer, manufacturer, and talking to Seema about not being informed about the divorcee Kshitij. And she doesn't like it. The funny thing is, when she was talking to her friend in the last scene, you would think that they were talking through it like, okay, fine, he didn't tell me it was the first meeting, maybe the second meeting, he'll drop it in there that he's a divorcee. But we don't even get to that point. It looks like during this meeting with Seema RD that she ultimately decides, no, just drop this guy. Like, let's move on to the next one. And so Seema RD then suggests, hey, why don't you meet up with my life coach that I had, Varga,
outsourcing Seema,
which we've met in a previous episode with Pradyuman. Pradyuman was talking to Varga, where we thought he was like, oh, are you going to be my wife? Like, Pradyuman was attracted to the life coach. I was like, oh, this is going to be interesting. So she sets her up with her life coach in this scene.
Well, so I wanted to bring up something. Seema says that she sees a lot of herself in Ankita, and they're both businesswomen, right? And one of the things that's interesting is in Aparna's book, which we haven't talked about the last couple episodes, there isn't like a lot more in there. We talked about really good stuff. But one thing that's interesting that Aparna says is that when Aparna met Seemanti, she met Seemanti with her husband, and Seemanti's husband was super supportive and like playing supportive husband and kind of like hanging back so Seemanti could shine and do her thing in her business. So Aparna was like, it feels really odd that Seema Auntie was putting Aparna down for wanting the same, like a guy that would let her shine and be at the forefront. Seema seems to like acknowledge that more with Ankita, that she can relate to Ankita, but it was strange how she's kind of treating Ankita a lot differently than Aparna. And I think there's certain parts of Ankita's personality that are more lovable. Aparna is definitely more maybe abrasive, but it's still like interesting to note that.
Do you think she was somewhat like negging her when she said she was an independent woman? Because she did that with Aparna in the earlier episodes. And Aparna hasn't been in these last couple episodes, but Ankita is, I don't think she's like Aparna at all. She started her own company in India, which is so much more difficult to do as a woman, probably in the United States. And it's difficult to do here as a woman. Like, this country isn't good for women either. So, obviously. And Aparna is a lawyer in Houston. And Ankita is a e-commerce founder, like a jean company with her sister. It's pretty impressive. And then they show her working. She seems to have a really big staff. It's not like it's some tiny startup anymore. So she seems to be doing pretty well. I like her a lot. And then she talks about her body image, how she doesn't think somebody would be interested. And I think that's when the life coach did a really good job of just saying, like, do you think you can trust someone if they could trust you? And Ankita's like, that's what I have to think about. Like,
but we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
And then we head back to Rupam and her dad. Rupam is the new character of the episode who we met, and she's in Denver, Colorado, divorced with a kid. And so it's her dad and Seema Auntie talking over like this biodata that Seema Auntie had brought. And he's an LA boy. What's up, LA? Shout out to Alok from LA.
Lokia can get LA, man.
You know what would be so random is that for a guy that we don't even like see besides his biodata, because sometimes they just show the biodata and that's it. But what would be hilarious for this show is that we just get Alok anyway. We interview Alok for like 5 minutes. So how is it like having your biodata blasted around?
I know,
Netflix?
dude. Poor guy. Yeah.
And then and not just having his biodata, but like Rupam's dad being like,
this guy sucks.
He's married to an American. Like,
oh man, there's some unpacking that needs to be done with her dad. But the dad is funny, but he's very straight faced. And he said that he's very excited with the straightest of faces, which
Yeah.
was hilarious to me. I was like, this guy, does he laugh ever? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not sure. But Alok, his family owns a bunch of hotels in San Francisco and LA. He has a 9-year-old son. So also divorcee with a kid. His ended at 3-4 years marriage. Rupam, if you remember, had 7 or 8 years of marriage before divorcing. And that's where you kick in the American wife, because the dad keeps hammering away of why he was divorced. Like, why is he divorced? Why is he divorced?
But what's the problem? I don't understand. If I was out on a first date right now, and if whoever I'm on a date with is like, why did you get divorced? I wouldn't say the past is the past. Let's move on and let's move forward. Like, it was just such a goofy way for Seemanti. She was like, Bhai Saab, forget it.
Well, I think what she was saying was like, that's something maybe you ask when they're getting to know each other. Maybe it's not in her bio data.
Then she could have said that.
right?
She could have said, I don't
Yeah.
know. I think she did know.
Yeah.
And she didn't want to say why. And we don't know what happened. He married a white girl. It's totally fine. Like, they could have been together forever.
You did it.
I did it. And
Yeah.
it had nothing to do.
Yeah.
We got divorced, but it had nothing to do with me being desi and her being white, though. Like, it had nothing to
Yeah.
do with that.
Yeah.
But
if you're doing something like this, are you really going to say, okay, I'm not saying it's a look. Okay, let's just say some random dude, right? And it's like, why did you get divorced? Oh, he was abusive. Like, you're really going to say that? Nobody's really saying that.
well, if he was,
Oh,
then
we
she
just didn't
shouldn't
get
be
along.
showing-
But that's
We
an
didn't get
important
along.
that's an
That's
important
all.
fact to know. Like, though, like, right?
But
Like,
nobody's
that
going to
is-
say
No one's gonna
that.
say it, yeah.
Nobody's going to fess up to it.
Yeah.
It's not going to be in the bio data. Like, he got divorced because he was abusive. Well, you're not putting that in the bio. To be real, nobody's doing that.
then-
Nobody.
We're also making a
then
leap.
Rupam-
We don't know if he was abusive. We're just
Yeah, we
Yeah,
don't know
as an
anything.
example,
Seemanti
yeah.
won't say anything.
as a disclaimer, like, I'm not. It could be anybody.
yeah.
It's any
Yeah.
random dude.
But do you feel like maybe that was something Rupam's dad was getting at? Like, what's the
Yeah.
deal with this guy, right?
Yeah.
Because you could tell he has PTSD or PTSD
Yeah.
from Rupam's divorce, and he's like trying to control the future because he's like really afraid. Like, he doesn't want this to happen to her again, but he's almost doing it in a way where he's like putting her down. Like, you made a mistake before, now let me decide for you, or
he
something,
says that.
right?
He straight up says that.
Yeah.
He said, you've made so many mistakes in the past. That's why I'm asking these questions.
Yeah, and it's I don't know, I feel bad for her. And then she feels like she has to overcompensate for him. And
Yeah.
she's like, people who are Punjabi are really open and welcoming. But she
You're
says
not.
like her dad's not being she says like her dad is being a bad Punjabi or
Yeah.
something. And I'm just like, okay.
And that, like, after he expresses his discomfort with the biodata, they straight up just like kind of kick Seemanti out of the house. She's like, shall I take my leave? And they were
I'll
like,
take my
yes, take your leave.
I mean, I thought Seemanti in this scene was defending, not only Alok, but like getting Rupam to this match. And they're like on that page. They're like, yeah, seems good. Like, he has like a divorcee with a single child. Also, like, okay, cool. You found somebody who can build this family together with. And it comes to this point at the end because dad is hammering away
Yeah.
consistently at finding out why they're divorced. And she just mentioned, oh, who did he marry? Who was it? Was she Indian? What are her? Oh, she was American. And then he's like,
He did this.
Yeah.
I got you.
He did the head nod.
That's
He's
it.
like, I knew it. Like, he was
Yeah.
so proud of
That's it.
himself.
I'm like,
But what did he know? Was he
I don't know,
saying
it's-
that like the guy
No,
I
it's
don't
a bunch
get,
of
I
bullshit.
don't quite
It's a
understand.
bunch of bullshit. Like,
Yeah.
he's saying
it's
she's
just
white.
made up
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, the other question is, his ex-wife was American or Indian?
She was American.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It must have been her fault. It must be the white man's fault. I don't like that
Yeah.
train of thought.
I-
I make a lot of white people
Blaming it
jokes,
on the
but it's
culture
not true.
Yeah.
when in
Yeah,
fact
that
his
happened
own
to her.
daughter
Yeah.
married a Sikh Punjabi dude, and that was divorce. So what's
Yeah.
the difference between the American,
Yeah.
whether or not she's white or whatever?
Because it was the American, so that's why it was 3 years versus Rupam lasted 8 years.
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
It's
shoot.
almost like it was something dumb like that. That's what I felt like he was
Competitive.
trying to.
So
yeah,
dumb,
yeah,
yeah.
I don't know.
When I told somebody that I was getting divorced from my second wife, my white wife, and she's not just a white person, she's a great person.
you married a
That's
white
not what I meant.
American?
But
Uh-huh.
I got me. No,
Oh, we got that at the same time. Did it come through on the microphone?
I think
at
it's
the same
good.
time?
I think it was good.
Oh,
Yes.
that's a keeper. Nice.
I
Nice.
told somebody that we're getting divorced, and this person looks at me, and the first thing this person says is, "That's fine. We'll find you a Pakistani wife next time." But was pretty funny, and I was just kind of like, okay, I didn't know that was the issue. So if my ex-wife was Pakistani, I'd still be married. And Imran, you're totally right. What does it matter what race or gender or color or somebody is?
Yeah.
Yeah, people are shitty in general. So
And then Rupam again, she tries to cover up for her dad. She goes like, "Oh, he's just like concerned whether the person will respect our culture." And it's just like, okay,
yeah,
whatever.
it's stupid.
Like,
I mean, from what I know from the white people that have married into the brown cultures, they have far greater respect for the culture and the religions that they marry into.
Yes.
So I don't see what Rupam's dad is really seeing in that
No, I
based
did,
off
yeah.
of the experience I've
Yeah.
seen. Yeah. Pretty crazy. I don't know this. There's no statistic. This is just, I'm probably just making this up, but I haven't seen a whole lot of my mixed, outside of use, I mean, but I haven't seen a whole lot of the mixed marriages ending up in divorce. They seem pretty happy throughout with their
Yeah.
kids and so
It's
on.
anecdotal, right? Like I have friends that
Yeah.
are married to obviously outside.
Antidote?
I was just telling Sophie this morning, I was like, so I'm not going to say what this podcast is, but there's a podcast out there that's interracial marriage. And it's not that interesting because I have my dad's friends from the 70s and even the late 60s marrying outside
Yeah.
their race here in the United States. And someone does it in 2022 and you think like you're doing something
Can you
special.
believe that?
Like,
Can you believe
Yeah.
that? And those uncles probably also. being
hey,
like,
I did it
hey,
in 2022, and I think mine is
yeah, but you
special,
wouldn't make
okay?
you wouldn't make a
Yeah.
freaking podcast about you and Brian just because you're different races. It's like
Yeah.
it's interesting, but it's not like every year,
Yeah.
every episode podcast interesting.
oh, that interracial podcast needs therapy.
Yeah, I think they say it too, and they can go
Fart in front of each
they
other.
can go fart in front of each other all they want. Yeah.
Okay. Moving
Drama.
on
About
to
that.
Ankita.
But the thing about that is, as much as it's cringy, there are people out there that
Yeah.
need to see it so they can kind of pull down
It's
that
probably
stigma.
it's probably people from
Um,
the South continent. Like I don't think it's not
Yeah.
Americans that are following them. It's got to be like
They're like, "Oh, he farts in front of
Yeah.
his white wife.
Mm.
Oh my God.
life coach.
Now I know I can keep eating my chane."
One by one.
Who says that?
Shabnam says that.
Uh-huh.
So we head back to India, and Ankita and Varka, the life coach, same as Pradhyuman, who went to Varka as well as the life coach, to better understand herself. And what did we learn about Ankita, or what does Ankita learn about herself throughout this scene?
Well, I think like Varka does a really good job at getting people to see things from different points of view. You could just put the stark contrast of Varka and Gita, where Gita's like, everybody that's important to you takes a back seat, versus Varka's like, how well do you know yourself? And the more you get to know yourself, the better like marriage will be. And her delivery is a lot better and a lot more gentle. And she like nudges people in being like more open and thoughtful about stuff.
Self-aware.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. She makes a good point
Uh,
though. She's like, if you become too self-aware, then you don't think about what you want in a partner. I don't know if that's true or not, but I guess it's like you have your head up your ass potentially. Who knows?
I think Ankita said that, and she's kind of like stuck in her own trauma and her own insecurities. And she was like basically saying that she felt like if she has to like lose weight to be with the man, then she doesn't want to get married. And so
Mm.
she was basically like, I can't be like forced to be something I'm not. Whereas now, after talking to Varka, I think she's like, well, what is it that I do want in a partner? Like, what are the values that are important to me? If I don't like a certain thing, what is it that I do like? You know?
So it was an important lesson of defining your values.
Yeah.
So that way you're ready to define those values if somebody were to ask, especially a significant other, and you guys can match. Because yeah, she has been going through body image issues. The anxiety is severe anxiety and body image issues growing up.
Yeah.
Because in her first introduction in a previous episode, if we remember correctly, is that there was body shaming based off of her extended family when the
Yeah.
parents were saying, "Hey, she's ready for marriage. Let's hook her up with some boys." And they were just saying, lose some
Boys
weight.
want pretty girls. So,
Well, yeah, boys are pretty girls, lose some weight, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Of course, that's going to hit you hard
Yeah.
at a young age and give you issues and anxiety. But she's worked hard at what she's done. So I appreciate her hard work and what she's doing is being resilient and especially being entrepreneurial and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
that's been great to see in here, and especially like her growth in defining her values. And then we head back to Akshay meeting with Radhika by themselves. They're still on top of the, I think it's the hotel, a nice patio, top floor restaurant, but they go off on their own, having a one-on-one conversation, or let me just say, quote unquote conversation, because there was absolutely nothing going on with Akshay in his brain. I have no idea.
He was just looking at her captivating. He's just like, this girl's hot enough for me to like not care
she was
that I
very attractive. Like,
yeah. But I think like in his mind, he's like, okay, fine. Like my mom likes this girl. She's hot enough for me to like put aside all my other standards of relationship. So like, whatever. I'll just like, let me just watch her talk.
And
that was
I don't know
like,
if this was like a Netflix thing, but Imran, you're totally right. They sit, it's obviously right next to the big table where they were having lunch, and they're like sitting on this like high top table, 2 chairs, staring at each other. And she's like, are you going to ask me something? And he's like,
yeah.
Are you going to ask me something? Like, and then she's like, what do you want? He's like, I want a good person. And she's like, I want good natured.
Yeah.
She's like, I want someone respectful. He's like, well, obviously. But then they start talking about that she wants to work. And I think that's where it like kind of probably falls apart.
But you're putting me on the spot. That's what he says. You're putting me on the spot. What do you mean putting you on the spot? Radhika asked Akshay, you're putting
this is all you think about.
He's like,
how could you not know? Like, I understand it could be awkward when you meet someone, but it's like, what are you talking about? Do you just talk about what you do every day? Ask her what she wants to do every day. And he just couldn't do it.
It's about you. It's about you. You're supposed to talk about you. What do you mean putting you on the spot? You're going to be on the spot until you get married.
Mommy issues.
Like, obviously.
Mommy issues.
I feel like, I feel like he doesn't know that it's about him, because in his family, it's not about him. It's about Preeti.
And she wasn't there.
So he's like,
she wasn't in this scene.
Oh.
And then he says, where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? Which I think is a great question, because that's what you kind of need to know when you're marrying someone. And she says, I see myself working and only working. And then he says to the camera, not to her, I want someone like my mom, how she took care of this family, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, dude, you are...
Oedipus complex creeping in again.
Like,
because if she's out working, who's going to take care of the kids? It's like, well, obviously, I guess you can't do it because you don't know how to do it. Shit.
And kids can't go to school during the day. Like, the mom has to sit at home, dude. I was like, and then after that, he's like, oh, but she's hot, so I might still be interested. He doesn't say she's hot. He says he's still interested.
She seems like she has a much better sense of who she is and what she wants. Like, she was giving actual answers. Like, I want someone that I'm comfortable with, that I can respect, and like at least like some things like that, versus he was just like, I want someone good natured. And then like when she's saying this thing that I want to work, he doesn't tell her, well, like what kind of work, or I still want someone to like be there for my kids.
No follow-ups.
Yeah, because he's like, he doesn't want to mess this up because this girl's hot enough for him to just go along with
she's better than him. Like,
she's way better than
him. Like,
when he was describing in very few words what he wanted when he was on the spot, and then she was describing what you were saying, like respect. He says immediately, like, well, obviously. Like, what do you mean obviously, dude? She's trying to have a conversation and the only word coming out of your mouth is like, obviously, and I don't know, you're putting me on the spot. Like, bro, you need to talk to people, just people in general. Forget women. Just talk.
He's a walking case of why you should cut the umbilical cord. Like, I would imagine that shit was connected until he was 17.
She's like,
Are you sure it's been cut at 17?
Yeah,
I
actually,
think it's still.
they're all
I think
together.
it's still
So you're right. Like,
sure about that?
They might still be together.
No, but it's just hilarious because Radhika's like, I really want someone to respect me, and he's like, obviously, idiot. That's like, it's just so weird. Like,
oh man.
And then you notice the editing, right? The editing it like really plays into Akshay's blank stare. The awkward silences, the beats between each other's conversations. They really milk that awkward silence for all they can get.
Imagine that first night after they get married and they're like sitting in the Taj Mahal hotel, like after the
consummating their marriage.
By
we leave this boring, awkward conversation between the two. And we go with Seema D, who goes to the Pandit for horoscope matching. She's back to the picture matching Pandit.
Face reader.
The face reader. Yeah, showing some pictures. And first up is Akshay. And Akshay's like model shot of him smiling the way he's smiling. I was like, oh, look at this handsome guy. I bet you they use that for his bio data. 100%.
Yeah.
And so the Pandit is saying that he's stubborn, but destined for arranged marriage, which I think I'd like to use Akshay's words, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Imagine
he's
Akshay
best
showing up
for
with a
his marriage.
love marriage. Yeah, right, dude. Like, who would it be?
Yeah.
I mean, it would be the biggest fleecing of the show if it turns out that he like marries Mancha.
Wait, is Mancha her cousin? Did we talk about cousins this episode? I don't know if we did or not.
Yeah.
Should we talk about it again?
This is
No.
not called Cousins After Dark, okay? It's called Chai After Dark. All right. So chill. Chill. Out.
We should have a pair of cousins who married each other come on the show and we can interview them.
Shamdam and I,
We're
just like Akshay, we have the blank stare.
Yeah,
Staring
no.
at Samim, but
Because-
we don't want to answer
Awkward.
You know when he said that, all of us had like a list of like 10 people in our minds that we definitely won't ask.
Yeah.
That's
I'm pretty sure I texted someone this morning that married their cousin. So, like, yeah, they're in my
this.
list.
God. That would be an interesting conversation. Hey, you know what? I'll leave this up to the listeners. If you're listening and you got this far into the podcast, congratulations. You need to tell us if you know a cousin that's been married to another cousin and get them on the show.
Raise your hand if you know.
This is some bullshit, dude. You guys are gonna get me into trouble with my own family.
You're the one supposedly getting canceled, not us. All right.
Oh, man.
Email chaiafterdark@chaiafterdark.com.
If you have a cousin marrying cousin story and you want to tell it anonymously, email us and then we'll.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, we'll be anonymous, wink, wink. And then Simaki shows Vyasar's picture, and the pundit says he makes people happy, not from a wealthy family, tough childhood. She keeps on saying yes, 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 like, just egging him on, like, you're right. And he's also destined to have an arranged marriage, which I found interesting.
Yeah, but then the pundit also says he doesn't think he's above anything, including like sweeping and cleaning, like a janitorial kind of work, I think he was implying. But I was like, dude, Vyasar loves vacuuming. He's right.
Yeah.
The pundit is right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, who knows what they fed him beforehand.
Yeah.
Or he watched a couple of the episodes beforehand. I don't know. We don't know. But regardless, like, his description of Vyasar was pretty spot on as far as what we can tell so far. And then he shows the match, the Rashi's picture. So Vyasar is currently seeing Rashi and showed that picture. And the pundit would say this is an auspicious match for Vyasar and go ahead with the match.
But he says that if this match doesn't work for Rashi with Vyasar, then her future is bleak. I was like,
Ugh.
damn.
No, her future is
yeah.
bleak, not his.
Yeah, her future
She's like
is
28.
bleak. Like,
Keep in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
pretty girl. Yeah, sure. Her future's bleak.
yeah.
And then it cuts to Vyasar saying, I gotta do it. I gotta tell her. So they cliffhanger it again.
Well, he calls Seema RD.
That's right.
Yeah, he calls Seemonty first. Yeah.
And then he calls Seema
The
RD.
Vyasar calls Seema RD in this last scene. And
Tells her the whole
Yeah.
story that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Right, about his dad.
And then Seema RD's
And
very
she-
nice.
yeah.
I felt like this was the nicest that she
Yeah.
was in this episode.
Yeah. Or the season.
Maybe. Yeah.
And she's like, you're such a great guy. There's so many great things about you. You just have to get over this hurdle and be honest
Mhm.
with her. And like honesty has to be like the core, right? So then
Yeah.
it's like, and he's like struggling to be vulnerable. And I think we can all relate to that, right?
we
Like,
talked about it in one of the other episodes. We talked
Yeah.
about the vulnerability of it all and
Yeah.
how we kind of see ourselves, or at least speaking from our points of view. It is
Yeah.
hard. It's tough. You got to grow up and you don't know how the other person's going to react. And Seema RD, like you said, Samim, I agree. She reacted as well as I
Yeah.
thought she would.
It was very motherly.
and
It was a
good
very
nature.
nice
Yeah.
motherly
Yeah.
way to tell him.
It was weird.
It was weird.
It was weird
yeah.
for her to act
Yeah.
like all you can do is try and you have a golden heart. I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
it's
you
cute.
said he has a golden heart? Like, damn,
Yeah.
all right. That's cool.
it's our
Um,
boy, Vyasar.
So he decides that I'm going to put, not me, Vyasar is going to put all his cards on the table. And it ends with him in the car calling Rashi. Boom, cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Nice.
Before
She
the
said-
last episode. And episode 8 is going to be the last episode of the season, right?
Yeah. So
So we're one episode away. So we end on another cliffhanger. They're doing very well with Vyasar cliffhangers here. They're like,
Yeah.
oh my God, we got some good stuff here. We're going to cliffhanger him at least 3
Hey,
times.
Don't we
Yeah.
have a Vyasar cliffhanger?
I think we
Oh.
do. I mean,
Should we say it now?
should we announce
Do it.
So surprise everyone, our special guest interview for October 29th is Vyasar Ganesan. We're gonna have him on the show.
Yeah, that's our boy.
2 weeks
our
from
boy
today.
is coming on the show.
2 weeks from today.
Yeah.
Lit,
yeah.
fam. Let's go.
Yeah, we're very excited. We get the golden boy of Indian matchmaking on our
No
show.
cap,
no
so,
cap.
No, the
yeah.
golden heart of Indian
Yeah.
matchmaking.
Golden heart.
Because
Yeah.
if C. Monty
Oh,
says
is that,
so,
we
then
should
it's true.
nickname him that. We're
Yeah.
gonna nickname him that. Vyasar the Golden Heart.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of questions for Vyasar. We're going to talk to him. You guys are going to hear everything. And Imran is going to fangirl.
We're gonna hear.
Imran's gonna,
No shit, Sherlock.
Imran's gonna,
Of course, they're gonna hear everything.
I was going to say they're going to hear everything in terms of you fangirling. Over
Oh yeah.
Vyasar.
Oh, this is my boy. This is my boy.
Yeah.
We'll talk
Golden hearted
Dungeons
boy.
and Dragons or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Coming on, this is gonna be
yeah.
exciting. I'm very excited for it. Well done. Shabnam and Vyasar was like super kind and cool, and
Yeah,
like
it was
that's
awesome.
our boy. He's living up to his name, the Golden Heart, so far. So stay tuned for that, and then also stay tuned to episode 8, the finale of Indian Matchmaking from season 1. It's gonna be exciting. I have no idea what's gonna happen. We obviously have not seen Aparna in a while, or Nadia for that matter.
I've been
so
seeing Nadia.
It'll be nice to see.
We've been hanging out.
Okay, chill.
Oh, my bad. I was
Oh.
supposed to say that.
What kind of necklace was she wearing?
It was only a choker, dude. It's connected to her neck. It doesn't come off, actually. It's like
Oh,
permanently
okay.
connected.
Sameem's going to be in season 4.
Yeah, that's me.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
be surprised. But we're very excited for that last episode. Thank you guys for listening all season long. If you have been, if you're brand new, this is your first episode, please go back and listen to the other ones. I really appreciate this growth that we're having so far. And so I'm excited to close out the last 2 episodes with an interview with Vyasar and an Indian matchmaking. But obviously we'll have a lot more to come. But this will be a nice little,
Yep. Cherry on
where-
top.
the chair. Oh gosh, I should take my leave.
Let's
I
take
should
our
take
leave.
my leave.
Let's go.
I take my leave.
Let's go.
All
Yeah.
right.
Oh, can we jingle out of here?
Yeah, let's
Jingle out of here.
Shy out. This episode was produced, edited, marketed, and created by Shabnam, Captain Ron, and Sameem of Chai After Dark LLC in association with Great Pods.